9 men involved in significant drug supply and distribution networks between Liverpool and Northamptonshire have been jailed for almost 62 years. Through a large-scale investigations, detectives from the East Midlands Special Operation Unit, Regional Organised Crime Unit, the EMSOU-ROCU, unravelled the men's various roles in bringing Class A and B drugs from Merseyside to Kettering, Corby and Northampton over a period of at least 24 months. Between August 2019 and August 2021. Officers were able to establish that 3 Liverpool men, Paul Campbell, aged 43, James Connor, aged 35, and Wayne Toner, aged 51, had made at least 28 trips to Northamptonshire, delivering packages of cocaine and amphetamines and returning homes with thousands of pounds in cash. Investigations revealed repeat meetings with 47-year-old Gilbert Sterling in Kettering, and with at least 6 further wholesale purchases in Northampton and Corby. John Chapman, aged 79, Stephen Davison, aged 32, Connor Sherwood, aged 28, Darryl Marshall, aged 35, David Madden, aged 46, and Aaron Vidler, aged 24. On September the 29th and October the 1st, 2021, a number of warrants were executed in connection with the investigation, resulting in the arrest and charge of 10 of the range of drug-related offences. All went on to enter guilty pleas during subsequent court hearings, with Mr. Toner, Mr. Vidler, Mr. Madden and Mr. Chapman all pleading guilty at the outset of their trial on May the 2nd and May the 3rd. At Northampton Crown Court, Tuesday the 30th of May, 9 of the group were sentenced to a total of 61 years and 8 months in prison, with ringleader Paul Campbell receiving a total sentence of 12 years and 9 months. Sentencing, Judge David Herbert said, Mr. Campbell is a principal member of the defendant group. He occasionally came to Northamptonshire to oversee business, and he would have been the person out of all these men who hadn't profited the most. Speaking afterwards, investigator Hazel Score from the EMSOU-ROCU said, this sentencing results represented a huge amount of painstaking, tireless work by our team, who gathered detailed and compelling evidence which gave these 10 defendants no choice but to enter guilty pleas. A substantial amount of illegal drugs were brought and sold by these individuals, with a conservative estimated street value of £885,000, which illustrates the large-scale nature of dealing involved. Paul Campbell in particular has shown to be in contact with every single person in the case, and no doubt many others elsewhere. So in breaking up this network of criminals, we're confident we've removed a major source of Class A and B drugs into Northamptonshire and beyond. Detective Inspector Darren Brown, also of the EMSOU-ROCU, added, I'm really pleased with the sentences imposed. They reflect the severity of the offending, and also the dedication and attention to detail our team put into this case. Rest assured, if you're involved in the supply of illegal drugs in our region, sooner or later we will catch up with you and it will be your turn to face justice too. The charges and sentences were as following. Gilbert Sterling, aged 47 of Eastbrook, Corby, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to supply Class B drugs, namely amphetamine, and he was sentenced to 4 years 10 months. Stephen Davison, aged 32 of Helmsley Way, Corby, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, conspiracy to supply Class B drugs, possession with intent to supply Class A drugs, and supply of Class A drugs. He was sentenced to a total of 6 years and 9 months. Connor Sherwood, aged 28, of Nisdales Avenue, Market Harborough, formerly of Corby, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class B drugs. He was sentenced to 4 years. Mr. Sherwood was also sentenced to a further 12 months to be served consecutively, after admitting 1 count of controlling or coercive behaviour relating to incidents in Corby in July 2022. He was also given a 10-year restraining order. Darryl Marshall, also known as Darryl Alcorn, aged 35 of Bridford Square, Corby, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and was sentenced to a total of 6 years. Aaron Vidler, aged 24 of Westfields Road, Corby, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs and was sentenced to a total of 5 years 6 months. David Madden, aged 46 of Beanfield Avenue, Corby, pleaded guilty to being concerned in the supply of Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs and was sentenced to a total of 6 years. Paul Campbell, aged 43 of Tom Man Close, Liverpool, pleaded guilty to supply of Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs and was sentenced to a total of 12 years and 9 months. James Connor, aged 35, of Wapshire Road, Liverpool, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs. He was sentenced to a total of 8 years, 7 months. Wayne Toner, aged 51, of Wapshire Road, Liverpool, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs. He was sentenced to a total of 6 years and 3 months. John Chapman, aged 79, of High Street, Upton, Northampton, failed to appear at court for sentencing, and a warrant has been issued for his arrest. Mr. Chapman had previously pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class B drugs and possession of Class B with intent to supply, sentenced at a later date.